you consider religious matters or biblical matters, theological matters, there's a lot of unanswered questions. People think, well, I don't understand this about Christianity, I don't understand this about God, or I'm having doubts and struggles in these various areas. People come to me and say, well, what do I do with all of that? Well, just a couple thoughts for you. First of all, you want to make sure you get your expectations straight about what sort of level of understanding one needs in order to believe. You know, sometimes people have this idea that I will never believe in God or never believe in Christianity unless I have every single possible question answered fully, all to my private personal satisfaction. Well, I suppose someone could have that standard. I would argue it's an unreasonable standard. And I would certainly argue it's also an unbiblical standard. And by unbiblical, what I mean is God often leaves his people without answers to things. God is a mysterious being. He's bigger than us, higher than us, omniscient beyond us. Surely there's things about him we won't understand. And if you think you can understand God fully, then you've created something that's not God. By definition, God is going to be beyond us. That doesn't mean we can't say true things about him. It just means if we're left in some sense in mystery at certain points, there's nothing incongruent about that and faith. So don't think you have to have answers to every question in order to believe. The second thing I'll say is that there have been answers to many questions. Lots of times people confuse not having an answer with there not being an answer. And don't make that mistake. I talk to people all the time that say, well, I haven't got answers to these questions, therefore, Christianity's false. I'm like, well, hold on a second. Just because you don't have the answer doesn't mean there's not an answer or that it hasn't been answered. So you got to make sure you do your homework on this. I've hardly heard a question that I consider entirely original. Almost every question about the faith has been asked throughout the history of the church at some level and been answered. So don't confuse not having an answer yourself with there not being one. Do the homework, track it down, figure it out. And the third and final thing I'll say on this is that to some extent, doubting and wondering are normal. Don't think that, having doubts makes you either a bad Christian or a bad person. It's part of our world that we're going to have those sorts of questions. There's nothing to be sort of ashamed of, so to speak, for that. You just take your doubts, you bring them to God and lay them before him and ask for his help. And to some extent, you may go the rest of your life with certain questions about certain things that you don't have answered. But again, that's not a reason to stay in unbelief. One can still believe even if they don't have all the answers to their questions.